Absolutely Not is normalizing the standard, period. If you bring the whole table, then you can sit with us. We're bringing all the uncomfy combos and creating an unapologetic space to drive the culture forward respectfully. Because it seems like everyone wants to keep their opinions in the comment section. Absolutely not. Hey, what's up, world? It's your girl, Alora, and we're back with your favorite podcast, Absolutely Not. Be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing several topics that I'm sure you'd be interested in. Today, we have another guest star. I'm just kidding, not another, but my favorite guest star, Jen C. Will.
Hello.
I'm not going to have you introduce yourself again today.
Okay, that would be like a little awkward.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, it's me again.
They know who you are. So I knew when choosing this topic that you were the person that I really wanted to have this discussion with because, you know, I follow you on Instagram and I've seen your posts and all of the work that you've done being a part of protest, even organizing protest, specifically relating towards the abortion ban. I know that you also work alongside Beto to help activate change within women's reproductive rights. So I would love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yes, I can't wait to explain where this started. First is I was in college during the Obama years, okay? That was my first campaign that I ever helped organize or volunteer for. I wasn't allowed to go door to door because my father would not let me. I was, 19 years old, 20 years old. I can't even remember how old I was, but we had Obama shirts, and at UTA, I would pass out literature and talk to people. People would come to me with their questions, and I learned then how to respond and make sure that I was prepared for a response. Mm-hmm. So knowing the topic that you are protesting for in support of is important to do your research, because if somebody on the opposite side comes and says something to you, you're gonna need to say something back. Okay? Now, I've gone through a lot in these years that I've learned. I know how to take a no. I know how to take a hell no. Okay? And it starts with, one, being true to who I am. So when I was in college, I studied early childhood development, but I also studied women's studies. Mm-hmm. So I am a women's studies minor, and I am the person that a lot of people refer to as, what was that phrase? I can't remember it, but it's pretty much showing us that our degrees are worthless, but yet I have this knowledge that I want to share with people.
Absolutely.
And I think that the brand of being a feminist has been whitewashed.
Absolutely.
We've come up with other words like womanist, mm-hmm. right? I took a feminist theory class in college, and I grew up in Texas. I was raised in a progressive household, mm-hmm. progressive church, but during my class, I came to my parents and I said, hey, I'm a feminist. And I was ready for their responses. Now, my father and my mother they were raised in the 70s. My dad was a Green Beret. My mom was a hippie, okay? My father's response, he thought I was telling him I was a lesbian. He didn't understand. My mother was, and she doesn't remember this, but I do. She said, you can't be a feminist, you're a Christian. And I was ready for both of them, because talking to my parents, we've always had an open relationship to where I could bring them anything. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of they thought I was going to be a lawyer. I had to present why and have a firm reason as to why I am here, right? And I, brought up the Bible. Tradition was not what my Savior believed in, mm-hmm. right? He treated women with respect. And I believe if we're going to be in this country, we have to treat people and women with respect, mm-hmm. period. And what they're doing right now is disrespectful. It is hurtful. It's dangerous. There are women who are losing their lives.
Absolutely.
There are women, Black women in Texas. Texas is number 2 in the nation for Black maternal health when it comes to death. Okay? When we see that, we do have to look at the fact that Black women are dying.
Absolutely.
Black women are dying. We're going to be the ones with complications. So I've explained these things to my parents, and they're on board.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I do.
I love that. I love the support that your parents offered you and the fact that they were open-minded to even listening. I would say that my parents are the same way in the fact where before I decide that I want to do something or that I want to be something, I do kind of have to come with a presentation laid out to kind of tell them, okay, these are the reasons why, this is the research that I found out about this, and then that helps them get on board. Not that they're closed-minded or that they'd be closed off to learning something new, but they aren't the type of people that you can just convince. I mean, it has to come with a lot more research and a lot of knowledge behind it. But one thing that I do want to ask, I noticed that you said something about feminism being what I can't remember exactly.
When I said it was whitewashed.
Yes, it was being whitewashed. Now, would you say that there is like a distinct difference between white feminist and Black feminist?
Certainly. So we had Sojourner Truth. We had Harriet Tubman. We have Beyonce.
Yes.
Can you name a white feminist who has impacted your social public life that you can think of who is a white woman?
If I'm being truthful, I would say no, but also because I am a Black woman, I do tend to follow like a lot of Black media. So I can't say that.
But you're a feminist, right?
Absolutely.
That's the point I'm making, is that it's different. We're doing different things. One thing that I try to stress to people that say that this media has been whitewashed with feminism, and I do hear the media saying the same, right?
Absolutely.
When we look at the fact that Black women had to endure a different path than white women, we know it has to be intersectional to be feminism.
I agree. And I noticed that like with white feminists, a lot of times they take more of a stance when it comes to like sexual fluidity or things like that. And then I see that Black feminists take a stance of like finding that independence to where you don't have to lean on anyone. Absolutely.
It's a liberation.
Absolutely. And I always wondered why there were so many differences between white and Black feminists. But the other day I really sat down and I asked myself the question, but I think it's simply because we have different experiences. With Black women, we had to fight for the right to vote. We had to fight for the right to work and do things other than like domestic work. So I think that's the reason why we take more of a stance behind liberation. And with the white women, they have kind of like taken the words like whore, slut, and things like slut shaming and have turned it into something that is considered, what is the word? I'm not going to say like a rite of passage, but they've put a positive spin on it to where it doesn't really negatively impact anyone anymore. And I'm grateful for that. But I do feel like there is more when it comes to feminism.
Definitely. And I think us as feminists, we have to outline. I think literature is the best way to do so, though. And the book that I recommend 2 books when we're talking about learning about feminism and understanding what it is to the core. This is things that I learned when I was in college in my feminist theory classes. And I have a textbook, and we can share the link They do have it on Amazon. I've given it to my nieces to
Aw.
read when they were in high school. I'm like, I need you to like understand what's happening. And now
love that, Auntie Jen.
there's other literature, like as Black feminists, that we have to incorporate, because I didn't get that from my class.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. Did not get that from my class. But I did see myself in the class. I saw how my life has been impacted because of the history of this movement.
Mm-hmm.
The women's suffrage movement is where this began.
Absolutely.
But we also had Black women in the midst.
Mm-hmm.
We have to remember this.
And that's not often talked about. I think that the women's suffrage movement really highlights a lot of the white female activists and never really touches on the Black. Until my adulthood, I didn't even realize that there were any Black female activists.
Oh, yes. Sojourner Truth was a feminist.
And I had no idea. That was not something that school taught me or anything that I read in a textbook.
Okay. Women, Race, and Class.
Angela Davis. Yes.
I tell everyone to start there in my textbook. Those first, even white women.
Mm-hmm.
My mama, read that.
And I also noticed that, like,
I'm almost
white feminists, oh, yes, Jen is biracial.
Yes.
I noticed that white feminists don't really realize, like, I think they only see other white women as feminists, and they don't really realize that there's, like, another side of it.
I think that there were a lot of women who are like that, but I think we do have educated people who are white, who are aware.
Mm-hmm.
And there's aware white people. I'm just going to say that. I know white people. I'm probably the most closest person that you can find who understands white people. I know that not all white people are the same.
Absolutely.
And I came from a mom and a family that, for the most part, supported this.
Mm-hmm.
Having a race in America that is intermixed. They wanted to be able to have harmony, right? And I know that we all have friends who I am describing. They do have their privilege. They do have their blind spots, but if they're open to learning, that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
To me.
And those are friends that you embrace with an open arm.
Right. And I do think that here in America, there's just a lot of ignorance.
I agree.
A lot of ignorance is happening.
Now, growing up, Jen, did you notice that, like, the boys, like, in your culture, were the boys treated differently than the girls when you were growing up?
Absolutely, but I didn't really see it in my household because I have all sisters. I have 4 sisters.
Wow.
My dad was the only male. But in my household, how the house went, my dad, like, was like the king, right? He was the king. All of my sisters and I, we have issues with people trying to control us. So I think that's like a thing for us.
That's a thing for me too.
It's a thing. Like, I am a rebel if you try to control me. Like, I will do the opposite, or whatever I want is the key.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. My thing is, like, whenever someone tells me to do something, I will say okay to be respectful. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want to do.
See, and that, I will say, my parents, I had to remind them, like, you raised us to be independent women. And that was one thing that opened their mind to say, okay, it doesn't have to be this way that we learned. And I think it's beautiful when parents allow their children to teach them, because that impacted me. I changed my parents' mind.
Yes.
You know? And if I can change my parents' mind,
you can change the world.
I can, because they're hard.
I think all parents are essentially. I have had to have, like, some cultural conversations with my parents too. I think it's just, for one, like the different generations, we all have different experiences and different ways that we have gone through life. And I think that greatly affects our perspective. And so it's nice. It's very refreshing for me to be able to come back and say, okay, this is what I've learned in my experience, and this is what I want to share with you. And for them to be open-minded about that is heartwarming.
I love that. And and that's what it comes down to. My parents and your parents have respected us and our decisions. My parents know if I never have children, if I just want to be a single woman for the rest of my life, that is my choice.
Absolutely.
And that I have opportunities to make that happen for myself that my mother didn't have. My mother, I'm just going to say this. My mother, she realized something. Let me tell you about her experience, because she did have an experience. Her father paid for her brothers to go to school, but not his daughters.
Wow. And why is that?
And my mom is the smartest one. She's the smartest one because those were his boys. When he passed, he left the boys'
I
land.
remember. Yes, I remember.
Now, he was raised in a tradition that that's what they did. I don't think he saw anything wrong with it. He loved my mom.
And I think that's the scariest thing about perspective is that no matter what you're doing, even no matter how wrong it is, people don't even realize that it's wrong because to them it's right.
Yeah.
I think that is the scariest thing. We see that in racism. We see that in feminism. We see that in misogyny.
Yes.
It's a very scary thing to wrap your head around.
That hit me to the core because that gives me peace to know that even in this fight, there's always going to be a counter and it's going to be a challenge. But it is worth it for the future, for these girls.
I agree, especially with this generation coming up. But I have so much hope, and I see so much potential in them. I thought that my generation was badass. This next generation coming up, I have so much respect for them.
Guess who their teachers are?
Us.
Okay.
I love that for
they
them.
They can call me an indoctrinator. I just opened minds is what I did.
Absolutely.
It's about opening your mind and looking at someone else, even if you can't identify because you are not that person or that sex or that race, you have to be able to have empathy. And I'm big on empathy.
I agree. Now, one other question that I want to ask you, because I feel like it's important. Have you met a woman that is like an anti-feminist or like has internalized misogyny?
Definitely. I am in Texas. There are so many pick-me girls here. Like, it's gross. But I've lost friendships because of my beliefs as being pro-choice and anti-birth is what they call us. But we're not anti-birth. We're anti-killing women. We're anti taking a woman's choice away that will affect every part of her life.
Absolutely.
Because like my mama said, it's the woman's life that changes the most.
Yeah, it
even
is.
in a marriage. Okay? The way this patriarchy is set up, it's set up to our core. We are trying to knock down their core. And they don't like us. They call us the modern woman.
Yes, masculine women.
I'm a modern woman. Yes, I am.
I am indeed a modern woman. But nobody ever talks about the modern man.
You know, there are good men out there. It's really hard. But now they've made it easy for us. We can sift through them easily. All you have to do is ask them their opinion on Kevin Samuels.
Yes.
Or Andrew Tate.
Yes. And once you hear whatever they have to say, you know, like, pass. Swipe left like on Tinder.
Good luck to you, good side. But even the girls who are the pick-me girls will be turned off of that. If they say it.
I don't know, girl. Because I've seen a few.
Andrew Tate, he's disgusting.
I agree. But I've seen people agree with him on TikTok.
Women?
Yes. And I think it's actually like, it's interesting how so many women are like appeasing to misogyny and like seeking male validation on these apps.
Lazy. I'm going to tell you right now, these are some lazy girls. They don't want to work.
I don't even know if it's just that. I think that they lack the understanding that men only like them because you're considered like a woman that they're attracted to on Instagram. If you really got to meet them in real life and actually truly relayed your point of view and perspective on things, that man is not going to like you.
It might be something that's in them, like in their biology or anatomy, that's like, I need to procreate, I need to have a baby. This is why I'm going to have a baby if I put up with this man. And I think a lot of women do that.
I think so too. They're okay with being a token woman. And for me, like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not something that I would ever consider. It's not something that I want to do. It's just not my ministry. But like I said, those token women, those men don't actually respect you. They don't have respect for you, and the love that they have for you or that they will develop for you is only going to be conditional.
Absolutely.
So I feel like the only respect you'll ever get online being a pick-me will always just be online. And they forget that even though you have this internalized misogynist mindset, you still have to experience life as a woman outside of social media.
Absolutely. You have to. I have friends who will do anything to get a man. And they may not be my friends, some of them.
I sure hope not.
I know women. Let me just say, they're not friends. I know women who will do anything to get a man. They might have used to be my friend, though.
Yeah.
Because as I got older, they started like...
I agree. I have had friends like that, too. Like, they will try to embarrass you in front of...
Listen,
everyone.
I'm quick to cut those off.
Me, too.
Like, I see you, because to me, that's a spirit. Like, so you're a little jealous of me.
Yeah. It's giving envy.
It's giving green.
Yeah.
Not the good green.
Not at all. It's giving like hunter green.
Like, I like hunter green. I'm thinking alphabet. Like alphabet green. Like the wicked witch of the east.
That's still a cute green to me, but whatevs.
I like hunter green.
So my last question, do you feel that women can like objectify and sexualize themselves, or is that just like a perspective thing?
The way I feel about women and their bodies is whatever she wants to do. Whatever she wants to do. That is her body. If she wants to be a sex worker, go ahead, girl. They deserve respect because this is a living, right? I'm a Texas girl, but I got a California heart.
Absolutely.
And that's just how it is. It is their body. It's their choice. Now, I think it's all about safety.
I agree.
And remaining safe. Other than that, she can do whatever she wants with her
Live
body.
your best life, Ma.
Do whatever you want.
I think that when it comes down to it, like, even if you're a sex worker, if you choose to wear revealing clothing, at the end of the day, like, women cannot sexualize and objectify themselves. Like, unfortunately, all of that is perceptual and like based off of the male gaze.
Oh, definitely.
So it's kind of like the reverse racism thing. Like, you can't do it.
So what I think that has happened is that we have women who have used their sexuality for power. And I think that it's more of a power move and not necessarily, it's against the norm more so. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. I do understand being from the patriarchy and the male gaze, because listen, the male gaze
is nasty.
It's the reason I go to an all-girl gym.
It's the reason I went to an all-girl school.
See? I love that for you.
Girl.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Wow. People act so surprised that I'm a feminist. And one day I woke up and I was just like, is it really that surprising? I only went to one regular school. I have had single gender education from elementary to middle school. High school, I went to a normal high school. And then I chose single gender education for college.
I'm going to tell you, I assume that most women are feminists until they tell me they're not. So who is the people who thinks you are not?
Girl, everyone.
Why?
Everyone. But you have to also think, like, women that are older than us, they have a different perspective on the way that things should fall as far as order.
Yeah, they can have opinions. Nobody in my family asked me where the baby at. Nobody asked me. They see me having fun. What?
Exactly. I feel
Don't
that.
do that.
And it's the same for me. Like, everybody knows that I'm living my best life. Nobody ever asks where my husband's at. I mean,
I love the respect. You know what? The only place that does it is church.
Yeah. That's the only time.
The only time. I'm like, girl, can I not be whole by myself? Like, I understand that single women go to church. So stop telling us to get married.
Yeah. Or to find a man in the church, because
Ooh.
no, thank you.
There's not even enough of them. There ends up having quarrels. Don't understand what happened in my church. Okay? You don't understand. There was a quarrel. I'm just his friend. Girls are jealous. I'm gonna say it. Hey y'all, these girls were jealous. They can call me because we're at church. They ain't gonna say nothing to me.
No.
They smile. They're like, "Hi, who are you? What's your name?" You know my name.
I
My
personally think that the men at church are the worst ones. Like, in my opinion.
Because they smile.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, my daddy was a preacher's kid.
Oh, yeah, no.
And I've dated a preacher's kid.
Those are the worst.
They are.
They know how to smooth talk, tell you all the right things.
But see, at least my daddy taught me how to recognize that.
My dad did too.
So it's kind of like...
First date, I'm calling you on your bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, But I don't date men who aren't feminists.
I love that.
Yeah, period. Who would want to put up with anything else? But a lot of men say they're feminists, but then you get in a conversation.
Yeah.
Just
and then, yeah, like some of it overlaps. I'm just like, wait a minute, you said.
Mm-hmm.
But the favorite thing that my boyfriend has ever said is that submission to him is slavery. I'm just like,
oh, wow.
I got your back.
So I actually feel like submission. Should we get into this? This is a sermon. We should do this for next time.
Okay. Next up, we will be talking about submission. So you guys be sure to stay tuned to your favorite Absolutely Not podcast. Like I said, weekly episodes. The next topic will be submission. So be sure to tune in and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at It's Alora's World. Thank you.